Richard explained to you about an example in Zwijndrecht, how they use the ambition web as a tool to decide the ambition goals for sustainability, and how the government in Holland obliged that by policy. And of course, we are in Indonesia, and in Indonesia everything's different, also in law and policy. So I will explain a little bit more about our vision, how we can use ambition web in Indonesia. So let's go to the slide in there. So what will be explained by me is that how to define ambition web criteria, charge of processing and implementation, strategy implementation, and training and support, what we will offer as local company in Jakarta. Tools for policy stability and circularity for all project development by the Dutch government. So I'm going to show you first how this is implemented in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, the government uses the tools that I will explain to meet the demands and the goals as part of the Paris Agreement. We have an environmental guide that gives insight to the opportunities and possibilities that are already there. We have ambition web, how high are the ambitions? We have Dubocalc, what and how sustainable, that explains more about what Richard explained before about Madaster, about the durability of materials, and CO2 performance ladder, who is realizing the project based on the CO2 footprint of a company. In Indonesia, we have something similar like that, but not really in detail as in Holland. So again, the environmental guide, the ambition web, Dubocalc, and the CO2 performance ladder. These are the four basic tools that are obligated by policy to use for every project, and without this, you cannot get a building permit. How does it work in implementation in the Dutch national level? To create minimum policy for sustainability and circularity, our area survey is done by the MIT. That's in Indonesia, similar to the Bappenas. And that will be followed by a sustainable scan to decide the starting criteria of ambition web. So meaning we first will see what are the policies and what is the sustainability already there. And then with Dubocalc, we will measure the ECI, environmental cost indicator, so the durability and the damage of the materials on the environment, but also profit-wise, and the performance of installing companies based on the CO2 footprint. This is expressed by the CO2 performance ladder. And this creates a circular project development chart for the future. That was look as follows. First, there will be an area survey, simply to see how sustainable is the area matched with the development that we want to achieve of any building or infrastructure. Research will then follow that we create the ambition web as addition. And then we go plan the project where we also have the detail engineering, and when we know the detail engineering, we also calculate the material costs and the durability of that, and we look to the companies who have the best CO2 footprint to execute it. And then we realize it with the same team. When the project is done, we will use the building, of course. And because of advice and maintenance and service, we will extend the lifetime of all the materials or replace materials that can be replaced. And then when the building is done, as Richard said before, we want to design buildings with in mind that we have to disassemble that in a period of time. We start demolition and recycling. And that way, by the government policy, we can create buildings that in the long term will be fully recyclable, or as much as we can do. And of course, this is Holland, and this is ideal in Holland and already in process. So how can we bring that into Indonesia? What Indonesia could do to implement this, the same as the Dutch government. To create the same flowchart as in the page before in Indonesia, the following could be done. Sustainable scan should be standard policy decided by Bappenas. We could educate Bappenas staff and create environmental guide to be able to make a sustainable scan. Ambition Web should also be standard by Bappenas. Make a national policy to use Ambition Web in all project development. One thing that you don't need to change laws. Ambition Web is very simple. The policies that are present at the moment, that is the standard. Like Richard explained in the diagram, that is level 1. And then level 2 is what we desire, and level 3 is the ideal situation to make it fully sustainable. Then SNE could collaborate with Madasta Material Passport, so they could create their own double calc by exchange knowledge and experience this with Madasta. In that way, it will be very easy because SNE is responsible for the certification of all construction materials, and Madasta have probably all these materials already in the library, so that could be actually really fast. And Indonesia already certifies companies with a sustainable grade in black, bronze, silver, and gold for environmental impact, and this could be used as a base to create a CO2 performance output. And that way, we could actually implement this kind of strategy already in Indonesia. But shaping policies, government implementation, approval, and create new tools in Indonesia would cost a lot of time. And we know there's no official data to decide a CO2 performance ladder for companies. Because now, what we do now with the graduation is only for the state-owned companies and the major companies, and not for the small ones. So we can offer a strategy below to make this possible for short term, simply for any project development. I mean, if the builder wants a building that is sustainable, we can do the following. Step 1, we can perform an S-scan instead of Bapanas. We can do that with our local partners like PT Atelier Union Architecture. They are supported by us and by Richard, and actually can perform that for us. And then step 2, we can create an ambition web by consortium of the project managed by our company, supported by Richard's company, R&R Advice. So simply we can actually offer that to a consortium for any project that is in development right now, and also be state-owned, depends on who. And then step 3, we can use the available data that we have now from SNE to decide the ACE of the materials if possible. And in that way, we can actually start doing this today. And how to form and to find ambition web criteria. To ensure the right input for ambition web, there should be a good and intensive collaboration between the policymakers, national and or local government, developers, construction companies, and technology providers. Everything starts with an area survey and perform an S-scan. The most important input should be national, local policy demands for permits for developing projects, decided by Bapanas and EPGM and MN. Environmental requirements. Most of the time, that is the one that the developer wants to put in his building or infrastructure. The client and functional requirements, so the usage for the building. And the materials lifecycle quality specs from SNE. I know that is available, so we could use this as a starting point for the ambition web. And then when we do it on project base, so how do we implement the ambition web teams in a project to create new performance requirements, including the new sustainable requirements, with existing policies and the client requirements integrated. Sorry. So what you do, you take the policy that's already there and the ambition of the project goals. So how sustainable we want it to be. Then we take the policy requirements and we reflect them and integrate them together with the sustainable project goals. From that point off, we actually create the ambition web. Included are also the environmental requirements and the user requirements. Then requirements of sustainability will exist with integrated the policies. So we will never break the law or never be in conflict with the law. In that case, creates the performance requirements. And that will be translated in the detail engineering that goes into the construction requirements. Meaning, in this way, we can actually start doing this today. To repeat again what I said. So, I want to create a bridge between the knowledge that we have available in Holland, and I want to create a bridge between the developers, architectures, construction companies, maybe even government into Indonesia. And instead of selling products, we want to share knowledge and we want to give training and education. So in my vision, our vision, we could do it the best way by offer training and support in the sustainable scan, in the ambition web, and proven sustainable technical and management solutions to any company who wants to develop more sustainable or self-sustaining projects, as Richard explained. Training in how to perform a good S-scan, training how to decide the criteria of ambition web for project construction of developments. We can also help in that. support improving and already implement technology solutions to achieve the ambitions in the ambition with output. As Richard explained, a lot of different kind of technologies that are implemented in the city of Zwijndrecht. But of course, there's more than that. In Holland, Richard already involved in many projects like these, and we have a lot of knowledge available that's already implemented, simple and smart. We can offer support in sustainable project management and guard performance requirements. And we can support in feasibility studies, detail engineering and CapEx models. And because we have a global network from the global network, the Changemakers Network, we also can offer possible financial tools or solutions like investment loans or funds, if needed. So, the title is the City of the 21st Century. Why is it like that? Because we are working on a book. Advice and partners are developing a book with the title, The City of the 21st Century. All the technology that Richard explained in the book, are also in the book, and all the technologies we already implemented that Richard did not explain, will also be in the book. So this book will probably release in August, and it will contain all the management structures, smart city development tools, like the ones I mentioned before, sustainable technologies, as Richard said, and sustainable structures that were used to achieve the SDGs that are already implemented in the last decades in the Netherlands. When this book comes in August, we will actually ensure that there also become an Indonesian version, together with UNA. And as follow-up, we will design a vocational program for all the disciplines in the book to transfer, educate, and implement this knowledge in Indonesia together with local partners that are interested. Meaning, all the knowledge we already implemented and proven in Holland, we will bring that here and make it available for anyone who wants to use it. And in that way, I want to help Indonesia to become, to achieve their goals for the SDGs in 2030. Because why? I've been living here now for 4 years, and I believe that Indonesia has the highest potential to become #1 as the most sustainable country in the world. Simply because the new generation have the will to want it. The government policy is also like that at the moment, and I really believe that it's able to do that. And then one marketing subject, because I'm obliged by my partners, we have a special offer. Ambition Web is, of course, in this case, made in a project that we have in Holland, but maybe you have your own project. And we can ask Richard to do a quick scan on your project development based on the digital engineering, and then we create a special Zoom session for the company that wants it, and then we do put 70 off the price. And the same we can do if you want to host us, like next month it will be PEE who will host us, and then we can do 2 projects and give also 70% off. This was just a simple marketing, but I want to thank everybody for joining for now, and I give the work to Randy.
Okay. Okay, so after the presentation from Mr. Damy, now we're getting into the Q&A session. Okay, so we have a question. Let me. Okay, from Mr. Muhammad Alfredo Rizani. Is on the chat box. He asked. One of them is related to city development is to build cities based on water. Then what is the strategy that must be carried out for the development if it refers to Ambition Web? He's a student, Magister of Architecture at ITS, and he's questioning Mr. Richard. So, Mr. Richard, could you answer Mr. Muhammad Arfreno's question?
Yeah, the question is how you can use Ambition Web on the floating city. I designed different floating houses, and we designed a whole floating harbor for the Chittagong harbor in Bangladesh. the different, if you want to build a city floating on water, and we also designed one in Rotterdam, is that it's in a floating body where you can build a city on. So the water is already there, so you don't have problems with rainwater. So the rainwater problems is there. There are different problems. So for example, how to implement green. So related to Ambition Web, you see there are different topics. So you don't have the problems with the cables and pipes anymore, because it will be under the structure. You won't have the problems with water anymore. So related to Ambition Web, you have different teams that are more giving you more headaches. And this it will be green. So we developed more floating green, floating trees, etc. So relating to the Ambition Web, every suburb, every different object will have a different target and a different levels in the Ambition Web. So the strategy, of course, to make it, that's an all new presentation, because it's an all new task how to build on water. But on the Ambition Web knows that the different levels on tree, what you have to achieve, are most different objects than in a city that's built on ground. I see a question from Mohammed. He's an architect of ITES.
Yeah, that's the one that you just answered, Mr. Richard.
Okay. Okay. And there was another question, or which company are you from?
No.
Oh.
That is from me.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
For Mr. Muhammad Alfredo, does Mr. Richard's answer already satisfy you, or do you want anything else you want to ask?
Mohammed, you can turn your mic on, there's no problem.
Okay. Is it okay?
Of course.
Okay.
I think everybody can use the camera on and mic on now.
Okay. Okay, so do anyone else wants to ask a question to our speakers today? Everything's already clear, or perhaps maybe confusing?
Mau minta dalam bahasa Indonesia also good, huh?
Yeah. Mr. Damy is since he's already around 4 years, right, in Indonesia. Yeah. So he's quite fluent in Indonesia. So he's also can you can ask him in Indonesian. And I also can help you to translate if you need any assistance on that.
Yes. So nobody has questions, okay?
Yeah.
So Richard, do you have something to add on for yourself?
No, only that I'm working now a couple of years with Damy already, and I'm looking forward to help the country of Indonesia about the targets they have, and already did in different countries. For example, now also working in Congo, and I worked also in Bangladesh, still working. So I'm looking forward to help you involve what I saw from the pictures and the stories from Damy is a really good looking and nice people. So I'm looking forward for that.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate that.
Okay. If perhaps you will have anything to ask after this event, you can contact our speakers through this email and or numbers. So you think you need this information, you can write it down. So whether is it related to our topic today or perhaps any other topic, feel free to ask them. Okay, so No, no more question for this event.
Yeah, and from me, Randy, thank you everybody for participating on the session. Looking forward to do more. And if they have questions, please go to Damy or Randy. That will be easier, I think. And but I'm looking forward to collaborate together.
Yeah. Okay. So
Okay.
after hearing from Richard and Damy, they are willing to discuss also with myself. Also, would like to discuss anything related to our subject today, sustainability developments that perhaps your institution or your company is currently working on, or perhaps sustainability issue that you are doing right now or you're having interest with. We are open to having the discussion because that's our field of interest and our field of work. Okay.
Yes, I want to add that everybody that has a question about sustainability or about community development or anything that you discuss, feel free to contact me. It doesn't cost you any money to ask me anything. So you're most welcome to contact me via WhatsApp or via email.
Okay. There's a new question from Alvina Cadenza. She's asking how to reach sustainability with cost challenge and COVID-19 situations.
I will answer that.
She didn't mention to who it is question, but perhaps both of you can answer this.
I will answer this, and if I'm wrong, Richard can correct me. Very simple. When I came to Indonesia, I understood that we need smart, simple, and relatively cheap solutions here. Of course, as Richard mentioned, already many focus on renewable energies, solar panels, windmills, and that's actually high tech, and high tech is expensive. As you saw in this presentation of Richard, we try to use a combination of different factors and different elements, like heat with water, like cold water, like making use of the environmental to create energy and to prevent the climate to have influence on the building, like heating up the building and cooling down. So all the technologies that we bring here, my demand to my network in Holland and all my partners, including Richard, is that everything that we bring here has a maximum return on investment of 10 years. And if we talk about 10 years or 8 years, then we talk about high tech, because most of the cheaper installations will probably 5 years or doesn't even cost a lot at all. If you talk about the COVID situation compared with this, I think it's not really involved in this, and I hope that the COVID situation is over very, 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 very soon. Maybe Richard can add something on that.
No, yeah, we still are also partly in lockdown in the Netherlands, and we do the sessions mostly online, and sometimes with one people attending to the office right there. So it's still to do right there. And the only thing what we do now is that we redevelop the different buildings a little bit different. So the systems of air quality and for example, the toilets. That the toilet is around it, so there won't be any drain drops. So everything, I'm an engineer, everything you can develop. That's not the problem. And for sustainability, just to make healthy, clean cities where people can walk and have their distance, that's good also in this particular situation.
And how about the cost issue, as she asked, Mr. Richard?
And Randy, what you mean by cost? The cost to build more sustainable, or
the cost challenge?
The cost challenge. Yeah, like Damy mentioned, because like normal projects or development usually have a cost issue. Now, probably it would be easier if we have not have any problem with cost. But if there's any cost limitation, how we dealt with it?
Yeah, we have the same situation in the Netherlands, and what we do now, we have some developments are delayed, but I'm working mostly in the suburbs in Rotterdam and suburbs in Amsterdam, and still we have a shortage of living apartments, so it's still booming. Even in this situation, we're still building. Our building industry didn't stop at all at the COVID, so we had not a totally locked down. So I can't know how it's in Indonesia, but still in Holland, the building is still on, and we need as much as more apartments in the cities because we have a shortage of that. What we see is that we have to generate more jobs for people now in the building projects, and what we do is we add more different jobs there. So as our department from the government, we're looking out how to have more jobs, so how to be more sustainable and jobs. So what we're using now, this situation in COVID, is that we investing in the green business industry and also creating a lot of jobs. The circular economy is also, if you reassemble it and you reuse a lot of the materials, there's a lot of labor involved. So you also can use this situation to change the industry from fossil to green. Now is the time to do it. If you don't do it now, you will waste the crisis, is what we always say. So use this situation to go to the new economy, because the new economy, if you look in all the figures, it will generate a lot of jobs, it will generate a lot of companies, and it will generate also for the people. So I work for the top 5 building companies. That's my last job I did, and we changed the whole system in the company, and they are now working, making money by sustainable and circular. It can be if you use and believe in the new system. So I think, yeah, of course, we have some problems that we have to work at home and etc. And we reshape some different buildings, but still we can reuse and use this crisis to be better and make more money.
Okay, great. We have another question from Yulsi Munir. The question is for both of you, and the question is, talking about sustainability, the initial picture is always difficult. How to make it look easy? Okay, maybe Damy first.
Yeah, okay. You know, if you talk about designing and engineering, it's always difficult because engineers and designing is a lot about technical issues. But in the main, sustainability is actually very easy. As easy as the picture that Randy already showed, that it's about the 3 P's: people, planet, and profit, and that it has to benefit them, and that's how easy it is. Simply, if you know that asphalt is polluting and toxic for the people that build it, then simply don't use it. And we can make it complicated because we want to use it, because we want to sell the waste from other industries, and that's why we make asphalt. And this is just an example. Actually, sustainability is already easy, and I wonder what your motivation is to ask this question. So if you want to put your mic on, explain me, Yulsi.
Okay, so for Yulsi Munir, do you have any response to Mr. Damy's answer? Okay, perhaps not yet. Okay, so how about to you, Richard, about the question?
Yeah, I see another question. The question is, how long have the Dutch government implemented the Ambition Web? Now the Ambition Web is more than 10 years implemented. We're now at the end of this year, we have the 2nd program that we're finishing, and all the government related agencies are there. So building the dikes, building the infrastructure, everything that's government related are using, also the province are using the Ambition Web. Now at the end of this year, we end the 2nd phase within our government program. And the second phase that we designed Ambition Web 2. First we had Ambition Web 1. There were only 12 teams, and that was a little bit abstract. Everybody said energy or climate. Yes, of course, we have to do something, but what is the subject under that question and where we have to focus on? And that's why we designed Ambition Web 2, and Ambition Web 2 will be after 2021, it will be implemented in the next program of the government. And next to all the subjects, and that were a lot, under there are all the contracts and all the different measurements you can do. So it's a whole system, not only energy climate, but also put LED lighting, but also if you want to put LED lighting in tendering contracts or in your street, how does it work? How does it work? How do you have to do that? That's all what we designed in Ambition Web 2.0. So it's from simple abstract level to the implementation in tendering, implementation in government rules. So it's more concrete. What we hated in the second program is that we have to do, as a government, we're talking a lot, we're writing a lot, but now it's time to act and do something. And that's why we designed every subject is explained what it exactly means in the 12 teams and the subjects. So everybody in the government is talking about the same energy, the same carbon capture, the same LED lighting, what it is and how we use it. So that was something we did this last 4 years to make everybody understand that we're talking about the same subjects. And we agreed also with the building companies how to implement it in the different tendering contracts and building companies.
Okay. Apart from that question, Yusri Munir also questioning you, Richard. The same question. Talking about sustainability, the initial picture is always difficult. How to make it look easy? Can you answer that as well, Richard?
Mike.
Yeah, thank you, Damy. Yeah, thank you. Maybe I can share a screen that we prepared. Okay, just a moment. Here it is. Here you see. Can you see it, Randy?
Yes.
Little bit small, maybe.
Yeah. A bit small, but yeah.
Yeah. So how to look it simple and how to make it simple. Here you see a 3-pager of the project. So this is, and what we always do is just an introduction. What is what? How is what? What is the problem? What are the areas we're developing? And the nicest thing is one development area is the Indonesian neighborhood. So that's really nice. And then we explained what the ambition levels were. And we put in the teams, and we saying also explained what is what. So living in this 21st century, what it means. And so the most important thing you have to do is that you make like a 3-pager or 5-pager of the project. First, what is the problem? First, what's there? How to improve it, and also explaining every team and sub-teams how to evolve and to be better. So you start by what we have to improve, and then you explain every team and subject how to improve, how to be better. So it's not only about doing the ambition web, it's also explaining every team and every sub-team in the ambition web, what it means and what you mean by that sub-team and how to improve in your project. So it's a combination about every phase in your project. You explain and be with all the teams. So you have an infrastructure, a building expert, you have a mobility expert. So you have a whole team of different experts, and then you make together, you make an ambition web session. And we have special people, also me, helping people in the session. So we first do the intake, and we talk about the project, what are the problems. We look at all the surrounding outside, how it looks, and sometimes we interview people, and then Next to which we do a session, sometimes in 2 sessions, and then we do a whole session with all the different experts and all the different stakeholders. So that's it's sometimes in 20, 25 people in a room, and together you do the ambition map session, and people at the front before the session, they will get questions to have more notice about the specialty, for example, mobility, how to involve and what they think of the program. So it's a lot of like a whole session where you do everything together and make the ambition web. It's a long answer, Randy, but I hope it understands better how it works. So I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I want to add something on that, you'll see, sorry. But you'll see, you have to understand from my background, Richard is a civil expert, especially in Delta engineering, and doing it for 20 years. And I'm actually a human resource expert and a startup coach. And for me, sustainability, when I met Richard the first time, around 15 years ago, that was also totally new and so complex. And because I was involved in many projects, I had to learn how to understand their complex thinking and the ways of to make things circular. And to be honest, the simple thing is, like I said, understand what sustainability is. What I did is I read all the sustainable development goals to understand those, and by understanding those, I also started to understand what Richard was doing. And then I learned that I cannot do it alone. So for every SDG, you have to have an expert, and you have to let them make the best of it. And the only thing you do is push them to the limits to deliver what we want and what we need for the community. And that's where I focus on.
Yeah. Ibu Yusi also mentioned on the chat box that maybe put it on the highlight that to Mr. Damy, for some people it feels complicated and troublesome because there's too much to consider. She says sorry because she can't answer right now because she doesn't have any headset.
Maybe I can explain that, Randy. It is a lot of information, and I know because this is just a brief intro. I always say if you do 3 ambition web sessions in Teams, then afterwards it goes automatically, because it's a system that will help you systematically to be more sustainable, and it helps you to choose. Because, for example, if you choose only 3 subjects in your project that are the highest risk at the highest level at 3, and you can put everything on 3. So it also helps you with other teams, social, people, planet, profit, to be more focused on what is really necessary in your project. And what we do in Amsterdam, we first look on the city, then we first look on the different city suburbs, and then we look on the different projects. So every ambition web is on a different level, and so it helps you all to understand how every project is and how to be better in every project you're doing. But after 3 sessions, then you know exactly how it works, and you also can interact better. So it's also a part of doing and to learning. And it goes really fast, like Damy said. But of course, you have to have a special background to start from. But that is another course. So that's what I'm doing for the universities. That's the one thing I'm doing with a course for government employees. It takes about 3 days, and we teach them that in 3 days. So that's the background they need.
Okay, so basically,
I have an additional question.
Okay, please.
I have an additional question from Kumara Jaja, who asked me if we already approached Bapanas for this. Today is a tryout together with Yuna and together with Richard to see what the effect would be and how much interest people will have. And yes, in the long term, of course, we will contact Bapanas and involve them. But Kumara, why do you ask that question? Please put your mic on.
Yeah, otherwise just type it. It also can be in Indonesia and then radio.
Yeah.
Something
Okay.
like that.
Okay. Yeah, we can do we can follow up that one later on. Okay, so basically, seeing that Richard's answered on the last question is seems that it's about the workshop, doing the workshop on certain subjects. So we can do like describe every items on that case, so we can see that it's not as difficult as it seems.
Yeah, what we do normally with government employees, and
Mm.
that we have a 3 days course in the Netherlands, and in the 3 days course you learn everything. I have to be clear that 3 days is then only for railroads and roads. For example, if you do building and the rounding in the cities, that's another 3 days, because it's different wise how you approach and how you work. So it's just, I always say about buildings, it's location, location, location. But to know about sustainability is training, training, reading, reading, and to be interesting. It's if you know, we have a Dutch soccer player, and he says it's not easy to know. It's really simple if you just know it, and just know it is training. So and to be interested, it's not that hard. Only the problem is there is a lot of people making different notes, policies with a lot of words, and words mean nothing. What I learned, words mean nothing. What means if you build something and people are enjoying and people are working and living in it, and it's good. So it's not about words, it's about doing and learning. That's what meant and what's important.
Okay. Do we have any more questions? No more? Okay. Okay, so if there's anything you would like to discuss or ask, like I mentioned, you can contact Richard, Damy, and there's my number also. You can contact the speakers to discuss further about the issue you want to ask or discuss.
Okay. I have a question for everyone. I just want to know for the people that I just want to know for the people that listen actively to this what we told them. I just simply want to know, actually, one by one, what their first impression is of this. So if people want to put on a mic and the camera and just share their opinion one by one. So, like, for example, Mr. Mustafa. Can you explain your impression about what you just experienced?
Well, honestly speaking, I just finished the meeting, but I read through whatever the synopsis. So, but I'm more concerned about how we have to move forward from now on, in the sense that there's so many ideas of how to use space and how to re-energize space. But is there any way that we can have a further breakdown of groups to look at, say, open space, then we look at adaptive or buildings, then we have reenactment of some spaces in cities, like, for instance, when some cities you have a lot of stadiums for you. So I think we need to look at that angle, because there will be people asking us how to resort, and of course what we don't like is there will be commercial intervention that will suggest how to do it. So that's going to be terrible thing for a post-pandemic approach, and I think we need to look at it from an objective in terms of design and also in terms of the way a professional will look at it, rather than from a commercial angle. Like even sanitization, right? During this post-COVID, there's a lot of sanitization, right? So everybody is promoting their sanitizing chemicals, they're promoting their manner is correct, and then they're saying, I got a better one which doesn't use any liquid. So, you get so confused because everything's so new.
Yes, you know what it is, so it's a spatial use, no matter what kind of situation you have going, including the COVID, right? Those challenges are always in different ways. There's the COVID, but sometimes it's also the diversity of the community that creates a problem, or the diversity of the business in an area, and it can only be solved by, like Richard said before, if we create an ambition web, then what we do is we take all the stakeholders, the ones that are involved for the area that needs to be developed, and then we discuss the important points, and then, like a democracy, we decide the points how to develop further on. And if you talk about the COVID, my personal opinion, don't prepare for the new normal, but prepare that everything comes back again, because this is a situation that maybe takes 1 year or 2 years. So why would we waste a lot of money to adapt on the new situation that is going to change back into another situation?
Yeah, that's the point I'm getting at. That's the point I'm getting at, because the point, even here in Malaysia also, there's this people asking this question: how long exactly is this thing? Whether if we move and put all the resources that way, it will come back to the same situation. So you got to pull back all your resources, right? So
yes.
So to me, I think, since we are all here and each one of us are good in our own profession, I think we need to discuss it in terms of how should I say, intelligently, and that will be the way that we need to inform and also to disseminate the information, because the public will always take the nearest to them. They will not, like for instance, news, right? So fast, Instagram news, Facebook news. So I think we owe something to them, that we are the learned persons. So we need to actually put that forward, I think. And this is at a good arena for us to do, because everybody is here. 2 pages of this, in my opinion. So I think...
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Richard, do you have
totally
anything to add to
agree.
that,
What
Randy?
we saw, all the designs I saw you of the city, and what we meant with that in the different cities I'm working now, we speeding up the process, because what we're seeing the cities that the design what we do right now is that it really needed. So for example, now we have too much traffic, too much people cycling to each other, and if you organize and structure it better, even with COVID, it works better, because everything is more organized, everything is more better. So, and if you bring more green, then you have less heat stress and more buffer of rainproof. It's also better environment for people. So even after 2 years, if COVID is gone, it still is a nice city to live in. So only it's easier now, because you design it more. So we're speeding up the process now. We're speeding up all the building process in Amsterdam, but also in Rotterdam now, because we see we need this kind of cities. So it helps us a lot, and we expect more labor from the government. That's what we're now doing, because people get out of jobs. We have a lot of restaurants, people don't have a job anymore, so we learn them with new schools to be in the building or in the public building renovation. So that's what we're doing now in the Netherlands.
Yeah, true, Richard. But now the issue is this: in Asian cities, the densities are different from your densities in Amsterdam. So I think we need to be sensitive to densities like in Jakarta, densities in Kuala Lumpur, densities in Taipei, densities in Seoul, densities in Yogyakarta. All those are actually is there. You cannot just throw them away.
No. That's true. The only, don't forget, Amsterdam was totally full with tourists, so it looks like all the Asian cities. But if you forgot that, in Bangladesh, what we did, we made a design of all the of different layers. So we have one design for where the cars are. Above is where the buses are, and also we changed 4 layers of different mobility in the city. So we made that for, and that's what you have to think of. You have to only to do it at the lower side on the city doesn't work anymore. There's too much people. So we made always for Asian city, that's in Bangladesh, in Dhaka, we made some designs already. Yeah. And maybe Damy can show it later. So the city, the almost coming more people. It's everywhere. The only thing is we have to build high rises, but also we have a lot of problems with that because there are too much people, but we can't stop that because the economy is over there. So we have to rethink, always say rethink in layers. It's not only the ground layer. It's you have to rethink the city, how it has to function. But
maybe it's decentralization, Richard.
Yes,
yeah,
especially in Indonesia. Especially Indonesia and Malaysia, we have a lot of space, and we have to reconsider if you talk about the so-called new normal. I refuse to say it, but if we talk about the new normal, we have to understand that the economy had a big bump at the moment. Many people without a job, a lot of small, medium enterprises, especially in the conventional business, are gone. And we have to be aware that they will never rise again. And some businesses will be lost forever. And like I said in my thing, I'm a business developer. And I believe that this also gives an opportunity. And that's also why I decided with Richard and Randy to come with this, because I believe that if we integrate more sustainability in the cities, then you get a lot of more jobs, because more parks in the buildings means more maintenance, different technologies implemented to recycle the water, be more efficient and sustainable in the city. All the maintenance jobs around it create more jobs. And because it's all easy implemented, it's also easy technology. And for example, in Holland, we have a project at Philips, and there we built horticulture on the 5th floor in aquaponic. And we built it with disabled people. And we use all recycled materials, and we deliver all the restaurants from crops and fish. And it's a circular situation. And actually that showed us, in me, that this is suited for countries like Indonesia and Malaysia. Because why? It's simply operated. We need it because we export a lot of food. We import a lot of food, I mean. So we can create alternative ways on a sustainable way, and therefore we can change the whole future and create a whole new generation of jobs. Yeah. And yes, that will not be today or tomorrow.
Yeah, but Damy, it's true. And the city, what I showed you, the suburbs, Zwijndrecht is nearby the Rotterdam. That's one of the top four cities in the Netherlands. And we redeveloping nearby the railway station and the highways. We redeveloping that area to attract the people to that area, so not to the big city anymore. So we already focus on the satellite cities that are already there to be more attractive for all the companies, and that will help us to evolve and have a better economy in the satellite cities. So, but yes, we have a good task now in the cities. And but I always say it's in Asia. It's the same thing. I've been in a lot of cities. It's the same in every city. It's not designed for the 21st century. We design it old-fashioned way, 20th century. So we have to redesign it anyway because it won't function any good anymore. So we have to do it anyway. So now we can do it because the materials, the products are there to do it on a good way. And it's not easy. That's true. That's why we designed the atlas on how to do it in a new city. So if you have a heat system, what is the space in your building? What is the outer space? How to everything we put in a kind of atlas. So people, the professionals know every system change you do, what it means in the building, outside the building, and how it looks like. So that's what we need. We need a new guidance. Because what we did in the 20th century, it won't work anymore. Too much people, too much cars, everything is too much. And people get sick in the cities. People are not so happy anymore. So we have to have more attractive satellite cities where people can go fast by train or something else. And that's
the second tier cities And I think if you look at Jakarta, Jakarta is one of the world's biggest village ever existed. So that is actually how we can actually learn how villages, how kampung life and kampung development is much more sustainable, and we need to create the sustainability pockets there. Like for instance, where the food comes, where the retail comes. Because if you look during the lockdown, right? If you look at during the lockdown, the people who live within the neighborhoods that have neighborhood shops, that have clinics within that neighborhood shops, they don't have to travel out of their homes away from 50 kilometers to go to the super regional shopping mall to buy a loaf of bread. They can just buy from the corner dairy or corner shop. So I think that is much more conducive, the way of life in kampung, but in an urban setting that can be reenacted. Because like when this thing happens, right? Malls are closed.
Yeah. Yeah, true. If you that's the discussion I have a lot with Professor. We had a linear economy, earning more money,
Yeah.
and what we also had is more globalization, more wide products from everywhere. And now we see in this what happened is that we have to conquer and be glad with all the local farmers we have with the good food. So good food. Only we have to get the food from outside into the shops everywhere. So now we have different projects. We have one bank, that's the bank of all the farmers. And now we're making special programs that all the food from the farmers, they still earn enough money, and that will come to the cities and to the suburbs. So we also have programs on that. So the farmers have a good income, but also that's good food. So so
no
we have
middlemen.
Yeah, and the best thing is that you won't put your money to China, for example. You put your money locally. So you the farmers will earn more money. You have better food with a lot less bad things on it. So we have to the globalization and the linear economy was something. Now we have to rethink of the circular economy, what I explained, and how to be less global and to make our own money, our own people, and that's what we learned in this COVID-19. I'm from the Netherlands, but we're looking in the Netherlands also to put our money around. And that's the same for Indonesia. Put your money around. Every money you give on somebody, on a product coming produced outside, if you don't produce it inside, you don't put your own economy there. So you have to rethink, and that's what I explained, the circular economy. And in Holland, we said that's a high task next to that we do the circular economy. Because what we are seeing now is that the Chinese government is good with all the resources. The resources will be more. So you have to think about our local economy. It's important to have your own economy to be stronger and better. And I said to Damy ook, if you look to south of Korea, after if you see how they developed in Seoul, it's possible. Asia is the new thing to rise. The only thing is we have to know to do your own training, your own development, and it's possible there. A lot of young people also there. So it's the right system and the right.
I will continue on that.
Richard, sorry.
Because
you're talking about circular economy, right? Okay, I got one question which nobody can answer me carefully here. My question is this: a lot of Asian cities are actually existing cities. We've got ready industries. Circular economy means you actually make sure that everyone or everybody that occupies the city has got a loop that completes the economy, right? What happens if some industries in the city does not conform or does not be needed by the circular economy? What do they do? Or what does the local authority do? Because then he will feel left out, or that thing, how do we handle that?
Totally true. If you look at the Asian cities, you see that you have industrial areas, and sometimes, for example, in China, everything is in the same area. So it's very good for all the ground materials to go there. For example, in Seoul, that's only city there, so it's also outside, and sometimes it's produced outside the cities. If you go more to the circular economy, you have to have more, in every distance, you have to set satellite industry. So it's not a big industry, it's like the, for example, now we buy something in China, but if we can only go it in parts, and we put it apart in the satellite city with a lot of labor, that's an homemade material. The ground materials come from something else, but you put it there together. So it saves you in shipping, it saves you in transport, and also you have local manufacture. So what we're doing now is also for the building in Amsterdam, for every district. Now we have we're designing special factories with a lot of people, a lot of labor, with machines that we produce there, all the things for the building equipment. So, and now also for the food, we also local food with local people. We also do that. So it's true, but you don't have to have the big industry. You also can recycle, manufacture it locally. So the big things, it's better to go also for the exhaustion and everything from that industry to put it outside. But a lot of things you can put together with a lot of labor. And that's why we're working now together with all that manufacture. But it's a new way of thinking, but also I assure you it's cheaper. So for the industry, it's also better. And for the government, and for the government, for us, it's also better because we put a lot of local people in, and we give them an education. That's what we help them with. And we have different grades of education. So you first start with your hands. If you're good with your hands and you learn something, you get a grade higher. And that's what we have local special, and I know Damy knows that the ROCs, we have special, because he's been there, he touched there, he teach there. So we have different grades of people that we educate. So first they start, we call it a left hand. You have an extra hand to the specialist, for example, for solar panels. You first will carry the solar panels, and then you see what they're doing. If you're interested, you learn about the doing, and the next thing is that you will help them to mount it. And if you then they teach them to do the electrical system, etc., etc. So we have different levels, and that's what we're now introducing. And that's the new economy. We don't have enough people to put solar panels in Holland. We don't have enough people to extract the new electricity system, smart grids. So what we're doing.
Everybody here wants to be Gojek driver. That's the problem.
Yeah, true. But if you're not unemployed and you're not making much money, and then you get a chance, the same money you earn, to use your extra hand and to learn something, and you don't want to choose that chance, please go for the high course. But
well, I will go there. I've been working with the Pesantren of West Java, with Associatie Bump, together with the governor, Ridwan Kamil. We stimulate now to do exactly what we used to do in Rotterdam, to certify people in metallurgy, in mechanical, in electrical, and simply by give them daily education for simple assembling and simple tasks within the technology, so that people learn stepwise to get a profession and to make some money from the simple tasks we do at the work floor. So to answer what Mustafa actually meant about the density here and the new jobs that we need, yeah, that's if I would study it, I can get a solution within a few weeks because that's my specialty. I did it also in Rotterdam. In Rotterdam, we have another kind of millennial. Here we have the millennial who want to be rich, like Mr. Zuckerberg and Mr. Steve Jobs. But in Holland, we have millennials who want to be rich, like 50 Cent and Tupac, the rappers. And they sing about bank robberies and that kind of stuff, and dealing cocaine. So the low-class millennial have this ideals to that also, and therefore they don't have a job. They're not prepared on the labor market. So what I did is, in the most criminal part of our city in Rotterdam, I created a simple class to motivate these people, prepare them, and create awareness, so they are not millennials anymore. They actually have discipline, and that way, from 400 robberies, I lowered into 60 robberies in 1 year, simply by giving these people an alternative. Exactly as Richard described, simply by stepping up in society.
Yeah, and the nicest thing is, Damy, that if they have a more expensive car, a more expensive bicycle, more expensive clothes, and they walk in the neighborhood, hey, why are you having more expensive clothes than me? Yeah, I have a new job. I installate solar panels. That's happening right now. What?
Exactly.
Insulating solar panels, you earn so much money by that. Why? I'm working in the office on a computer and you earn more money than me. Yes, and it's easy. It's 3 months course. What? I want to do that also. I want to have also more expensive course. That's how now working in my area. And it's really cool because
Yes.
normally you think after computer you earn a lot of money. But if you do simple work, you don't earn a lot of money. And now you're working outside, working with all the colleagues, having a joke and everything, and you just are more satisfied with your work. So that's also the thing they have to learn.
Change mindset.
Yeah, maybe I'll take a short note that this matter is the collaboration between the government, the policymakers, and the private sectors, because the government make the regulation and also they make green policies and green developments, making parks, facilities, and the private sectors are investing money. So obviously they want some incentive to be given by the government. We can achieve the ideal way, the higher standards if we can make this thing work together. For example, just a few months ago, the Jakarta government start to calculating the green area ratio for the vertical greens on the rooftop, vertical facade. So this thing, even though it's still on the limited area in Jakarta, but this thing can make a lot of difference if you're talking about greenness in the building. And also at the end, from this one case, and we can search for other cases as well, this can make a greater benefit to either to society, the citizen, or to the city, and also for humanity in general. That's my point on how we see this matter.
No,
I
not
agree
true,
with
Randy.
that.
Yeah, I don't want to be rude because I really like the dialogue, but already 15 minutes late in the meeting for Germany. So sorry for that. Please contact to Randy or Damy, and I'm looking forward to work with you together because you're a really nice country, and it's a lot of things can be much nicer in sustainable way. The people are good, so it's only to make it better than it is.
Okay. Okay. Richard. Yeah. If you don't mind, would you give us 1 or 2 minutes for us to take a picture?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So everyone, if you don't mind, can you put your cameras on? And since this an online event, of course, we have to do it a different way than the normal. Then I will count from 1 to 10, and during that time, I will make a screenshot of what's on my screen. Okay, everyone's ready?
Wait. And one thing I want to ask: when Richard leaves, please don't leave because I still have some questions for everyone.
Okay.
Okay. Is everyone ready? Okay, I'll count from 1 to 10. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody, for your time.
You,
Looking
Richard.
forward to work together. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay, so
Thank you, Richard.
yeah, Amy, do you still anything else to talk?
Yes,
With the audience?
I just want to go to a little bit interactive because I'm actually a communication trainer, so that's what I'm going to throw in. I want to ask to some people just simply, everybody can put the mic on, please. No problem with that. And I want to know who will speak English and who not. Then I know where to go. So one person I talked a lot in the beginning, Mr. Eco.
Okay,
Mr.
sir.
Nico,
Yes.
after our presentation, what do you think of it?
Yes. After
Okay.
we listen about Mr. What's name
Richard?
from Mr. Richard, yeah. I already seem like a green building, yeah. They are talking about the the rule about the building and about the global warming, and also in Indonesia also have the rule about the green building association.
Mm-hmm.
Association for green building to give building or infrastructure for certificate on if they in 3 years they make some a rule for in their rule, and we follow their rule, and also we can get a certificate, and after 3 years uh, auditor coming again for check our system is follows or not again with green building. I think it's the same way. I think about the Mr. Richard talking about the situation in environment also in infrastructure. Maybe I hope for the next maybe the government make some rule, and all the building or the new building we build is must be follows the
Regulation.
regulation. Yes, like that. Okay, sir.
Actually,
Maybe.
to go into there, you talked about the Green Building Council Indonesia.
Mm,
Uh,
mm,
to know that the leading Green Building Council in the world is the Green Building Council of Holland, and we are
yeah,
the one that make the assessments. And Richards is actually the one who created the assessment for the Green Building
the
Council in the Netherlands,
assessment.
and
Oh, like
that
that.
is copied globally. And that's why everything you hear from Richards is also similar,
Mm,
because that is based on the BRIM method, and the BRIM
mm,
method is from the BRA in England, UK,
mm,
and that's actually the
yeah.
international standard for sustainability. And for example, everything we do, what we showed before in the presentation for all the tools, it is all measured on all the international standards for green building, and that's why it's also suitable. So you have to understand that the policy of Indonesia can never be a problem, because that will be the basic of the input.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be changed. Because if you have a basic input and you want to make a pie and the ingredients are good to make the pie, then you can decide the cream and the cherry or the strawberry or the chocolate on it, because that's also always been within the regulation then. And if you do that in sustainability, it's exactly the same.
Yep.
And so that's why it's also fully implementable. Thank you, Pak Eko.
Yeah.
Then I have a question to Joseph. Joseph, you are here from the beginning also. What do you think?
To Pak Yosef?
Pak Joseph, yeah. Camera is, I think, bad connection. Anyway. So I think we're done now because everybody's leaving, I see. Anyone have questions still? Mustafa, you still want to talk about something? It's okay. Mr. Bambang, you're gone, but I wanted to ask you also, what do you think?
Me?
Mr.
Bambang is leaving for a while. Yeah. Yeah, to do the Maghrib prayer.
Oh, I didn't see that. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
I was not paying attention. So I'll give it to you, Randy.
Okay. I think since we have a limited time, that concludes our event. Thank you for attending this event. And hopefully we will see you again in the future. Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah, and feel free to contact me, no problem. If you want to meet me, I live in Jakarta. I can go anywhere in Jakarta. Feel free to bother me. If I don't pick up my phone, it's because I'm sleeping. Okay. Rennie, thank you for your time and thank you for help hosting.
Yeah, you're
And
most
let's go for the
welcome.
next one.
Yeah, okay.
Because the 3rd of July we have another one, and then together with PE Learning Center. Okay. I will end the session, and I will talk to all of you later.
Okay.
See you later, Rennie.
Yeah.
I will
See
end
you.
it here, and then everything is gone.